Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 11th day of July 2024. Welcome to our show today. I hope you're having a good day, a great start to the day today. I know I did. And I posted a picture yesterday on my Telegram channel, which was fun. I'll bring that up in a minute. On went and picked up my stallion, and in fact, he performed admirably. And I think we started a new baby here. So went and got him. He was a happy guy. He spent a couple of days in his happy place in life, which is making babies. That's what stallions do, right? That's their purpose. So there's a reason why they call them studs. And so that was kind of a fun thing. And so I got in my pickup truck with my dog, went and picked up my horse. That makes a good day every day. So anyhow, lots going on out there. There's a tremendous amount of motion, and I've been noticing patterns. You guys know I look for patterns, and there's a lot of patterns that are going on out there that I think are significant, and we need to really pay attention to those because no, everybody's lying. Okay, everybody out there is lying, and anybody that really knows the truth really isn't saying a whole lot. They're pretty quiet right now and going about their business and fixing the world without any glory going on. They're just doing their jobs. And so watch for the patterns. Watch how many bills as well as the legislation that's being passed right now. It's kind of miraculous in a way. I've been shocked in the last 2 weeks how much motion to the good we're seeing. So no matter that we go down the things that are wrong, and we spend a lot of time in that, because we honestly need to do a good evaluation before we fix things to know what to fix. But then we just go in and we fix them. So you can't be afraid to watch that. Anyhow, first part of the day today, first hour, I've got Jean Zott on. Hi, Jean. How you doing? And then next hour, we got Senator Jim Runestad on, and I'm looking forward to talking to both of you today. It's going to be a fun show for me. So
yes, I was excited to see that Jim's coming on the show. He had just recently sent out a survey to the candidates about the House rules and some of the things that are very damaged in the House of Representatives right now. And I am hoping that he is going to be successful with this survey. I answered it right away and sent it back. So I'll let him talk a little bit more about that. But
well, he had quite a video on the other day. I'm going to play that because I thought his video was really good, talking about what's really happening. And let me see if I can find it here a minute. It's going to take me just a minute, and I'll find his video that caught my attention, and then we'll go back to the I think it's past that. We'll go back to the debate that we saw, the sheriff's debate, because I had some it's like if I did an evaluation on this, I look at it as a job interview, right? And what I would ding people for or say they did a great job on, the way I look at it's probably very different than the way a lot of people do. But here, let me throw my dog in my pickup truck picture on here a minute.
Okay.
We'll bookend this a little bit. Here's Donna in her happy moment with a dog in the pickup truck, doing the farmer thing, which I love doing. And so that was pretty fun. And
I'll have to send you a picture of my dog on the campaign trail with me.
Oh, that's cool.
He actually, I think he turned a Democrat last week.
Oh, that's fun. Let's see.
He says, I like you because you have a nice dog. I'm like, what?
Well, let me see if I can find Jim's post here. It's not coming up in my normal way. I can
I can give you a summary. I took a little note on it, his video.
Guess what? I just found it. Let's put it up. It's a 3-minute clip. And okay. I think that this is honestly, it was so interesting to me that he just came right out and said it. And, I have a great admiration for people that just don't pull any punches and just say what needs to be said, because it's going to do this again, isn't it? You're really going to do this to me right now, YouTube. Of course they like to take
here we go. You have a historic opportunity to make a difference in how your state is governed. Today I'll give you the inside scoop on just exactly how the dysfunctional swamp of Lansing works. Regardless whether you're Republican, Democrat, the system operates just exactly the same way. It's designed to allow just a few people to wield complete and utter power over all the members of the chamber to deliver the big payoffs to the big donors, the corporations, union bosses, whoever had the massive influence to get that leader in their position. The media, of course, is not going to tell you any of this because they prefer dealing with just a few leaders to save them the time and effort of reporting. Lobbyists and big donors also prefer this arrangement as it costs much less to buy one member than the whole chamber. They're all part of the same game, the big club, and they're not going to tell you how it works. Yes, it's a big club voter, and you aren't in the big club. Immediately after the November elections, the very next day, 9 o'clock in the morning, the members are required to be there and vote in the leaders. Typically, you know very little, if anything, about these leaders, except that, well, you know, maybe they gave you some money, which is quite often that's enough. Once elected, the leader has absolute power. They can remove or replace your staff. That staff can be told to say anything about you. You're out getting drunk, whatever. They can remove you from a committee chair position, take you off committees, revoke your parking spot, even remove your seat and desk off the floor of the chamber. They can prevent you from communicating with your district and crush you in every.
I'm going to take 1 minute here because I want to make sure that we don't get a community strike. Sometimes you got to just stop and pause a minute and then talk over the video just a minute, and then you can get it going. And then YouTube, the pieces of crap that they are, will let you go.
Well, I did want to say what he was just talking about. Oh,
go ahead.
It happened to Josh Shriver. I mean, they stripped him of everything except for his parking spot, which they could still probably do. Stripped him of his committees, assignments, all sorts of stuff. And it was because of something he posted on Twitter. He reposted something. And so now his constituents are left without representation because they've, you know, the leadership said, oh, you're a bad rep. We don't want you to be involved in anything.
It's like a cult, you know, though it's a cult mentality, kind of like the same crime syndicate type mentality is what it really is. So let's listen to what else he's say here, because
rules like this for many, many decades. After voting in your dictator, you face a flood of lobbyists and department heads and other members and the public and elected officials all through the rest of November and December. And then the first thing you do in January, your first act is to vote in the rules, the very rules that govern the process I just outlined. By voting in these rules, you hand over absolute power to the leader, sacrificing all the potential transparency and good governance that you wanted to bring to the office. They will present some minor technical changes to the rules, claiming that these rules are great. They've been around for decades. We just need a few tweaks. They do not want you to read the full rules.
Okay, let's talk about that too. That's why they throw these bills out there. We've got 2,000 bills a year that go in front of our legislature in Michigan here. It's absurd. You cannot possibly make me believe that they're reading them or that they even understand what they're signing, and they're signing them in the middle of the night rather than putting a hold on them so not only they can review them, but the citizenry can review it and respond to this. And they're so long, it's absurd, absolutely absurd. There's nobody up there that has a command of what's in there because the people, there's a very centralized group of people that write most of the bills, and they're just rubber stamp agents. Boom, they just rubber stamp it and the money flows. That's what this is all about, and not to us, to them.
Yes, that's his first question on this candidate survey. Is this called the 72-hour rule? Or read, excuse me. So what he wants to do is to say to the legislature, you get 72 hours to look at this. So do the people. What is wrong with that? Like, there is nothing wrong. Like, we should have a right to know what they're spending our money on. But no, it's very quiet. It's done in the back room. And then these 1,000-page bills, the budget, which is the last one, the big one that they just did. They didn't have nobody on the Republican side had time to read it. And I'm sure that most of the Democrats didn't read it. They were told, like you just said, this is what we want, vote yes.
to your point, it should be going in front of the people to review and instruct them. And I don't think 72 hours is long enough that in any way, shape, or form to have a formal and good review on these things. There's no good review by we the people that can happen in 3 days, because we're still living all of our lives and such. I think it needs to be longer than that. We need to shorten the length of the bill. It needs to have anything in the bill has to relate to the title. Every single one of these people has to sit through a complete reading of the bill on the floor, or they should not have the ability to vote on it. And that would stop some of this pork that they throw in there and all this nonsense that expands it past the scope of what it's supposed to be, to do favors for their friends or enrich their own pockets.
I mean, I'll just ask you, could you read 1,000-page book in a week? Probably not. I mean, maybe. I mean, if you were just really dedicated and that's what all you're doing, you have nothing else to do is read this 1,000-page book. And I know
if you read it, you wouldn't have the ability to stop and understand it and say, I want clarification on this point.
Yeah, taking notes.
It'd be like speed read to just say that you checked a box that, yeah, you read it. It's unrealistic. And then they pass them overnight.
And the other thing is like the little pork things that they put in, they need to have a name assigned to it. You know, we need to know who wanted that in there. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out, because if it's benefiting a particular community, you can trace it back to the senator or the rep in that community. But their name should be right on there. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I'm going to go a step further and throat chuck this right against the wall. It has no place in a bill. The bills themselves should be limited to no more than maybe maximum 3 pages, 3-page maximum, or a word maximum in it. And there should be no pork. If it does not relate to the title or the subject of the bill, it should be struck. The whole thing should go down. And that way,
I don't know that they could do that with the budget. I mean, they could break the budget up into different pieces instead of just throwing everything together.
Exactly.
I mean, that is something they could do. But in order for us to be more fiscally responsible, we have to be able to look at what's going on in these bills. But Jim's going to talk. I don't want to duplicate what Jim's probably going to talk about.
I just want to play this, and he's going to come on, and then he can talk to more points. So maybe what we should do is I can stop it there, and then I'll play it when he gets on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a candidate, when I saw it, I was like, amen, because this is some of the things that I've seen while studying what it looks like to be a state rep over the last 2 years, really saying, okay, I can do this job, but look at all the roadblocks. I mean, wow. I had a lot of roadblocks on the campaign trail, but we can talk about that if we have time. But we should talk about the candidate debate. If that's on your agenda, because I was so impressed with the debate and how the Macomb County Republican Party put this on, and it was a great opportunity for people to see these 3 candidates.
I think I'm gonna correct you just for a second on that, because it was we the county Macomb.
Yes.
That put that on, and I think that was a good thing, because that way it was not associated quite so closely with the Republican Party. I think that was and it's not for posturing, but I do think that we should have outside entities that are also doing these things, and not the decentralization process. I think is pretty important.
Well, and meeting all 3 candidates at once, as you know, and I'm if you follow my social media, you'll see that Terry McCoskey and I are friends, and actually we became friends when I actually went to him and said, are you going to run for the Michigan House again? Because he held the seat that I'm in right now. And he said, no, Jean, go for it. He had not told me that he was running for sheriff at the time, but he has been a mentor to me along the way and guided, and his wife too. I mean, she's really helped me also. So so with that said, you know that I'm a little bit biased in this debate, but I do want to say that the 3 candidates, of course, I thought Terry did a great job, but I also felt like the other 2 did a good job too. they both got their messages out there. I was really, is it Eddie? I don't have his last name in front of me.
Nevesinski.
Yes. That's a mouthful, but I was really surprised by him. He was really passionate. You can tell that he really, law enforcement is a part of him, and his time in the service is part of him. With that said, him and Scott have other barriers into getting them into the sheriff's office. Scott Budnick, I also know him. I've met him. He's a very nice guy. But I keep going back to their legal problems that they have had recently. They are going to be used against them if they were successful. There is no way that they could overcome that against the Sheriff Wickersham, the current sheriff.
Well, I think what's really important here, for me anyhow, my part in this is that I think everyone should be able to make up their own minds. And if we put things out there for them and talk about their message and such, that it gives people the ability and the honor to make up their own minds on this sort of thing. And that was really, I did a whole bunch of videoing. You were part of my videoing, of course. And, because I tried to talk, it's going to look like only McCoskey supporters stepped up to talk to me, but I tried to talk to the supporters of the other candidates, and I would have given them a fair shake at that, because I asked the people the same question. I wasn't, if I'm going to put it out there like this, I'm going to give them the ability to answer basically the same questions and try to be as impartial as I can on that. Though, and I'm going to be right out there. I'm friends with Terry, but when it comes to an election, you want the best person for the job. And the only way you can do that is by listening and giving them a fair shot to talk, because there's so much spinning happening out there that we can't always get to the truth because it's so manipulated by headlines. The only way you can do that is to go by the people, give them a chance. Now, I get dinged a lot because I talk to everyone. I'll talk to anybody and everyone. And if Hillary Clinton walked in and said, I want you to interview me, I would be like, sign me up. Okay. And we're going to get to the truth of this and what was true and what's false. And we all have our minds pretty well made up on the fact that the evidence points to the fact that she's done some horrible things, and very, very horrible things. And you can't get away from that. But I would grill her on that and give her a chance to answer the questions, because I've got a lot of questions. Did you, in fact, cut a face off a 10-year-old girl? I believe that to be true. There's enough evidence out there. I've seen screenshots and that sort of thing. I believe this to be true. And but I would like to give her a chance to answer it. And when it's candidates too, it's like I would give them a chance to answer the allegations instead of jump right into. And for example, today I was asked to go down to Hillsdale because Stephanie Lambert, Stephanie Scott are down there. Craig Mauger, the complicit information spinner with the deep state, wrote an article on them this week. It's absolute bullshit. They asked me to go down there and to cover it. And I'm like, well, I can't really do it today. I wish I could have gone down there today, but it's like, I just can't do this today. It's but I'm like, let me know how it goes. And hopefully I'll get enough other people that are willing to work with Brandenburg News Network that I can flip the camera on and record it or show it live down there. Cause I would do that. If somebody wanted to say, hey, I'm going to be here and I'll cover this for you, I'd be like, thank you, Jesus. People are stepping forward. That would be great to have other people that would do that. But we can't make up our minds on these headlines because these people are political operatives. They're owned. They're paid and owned operatives. They work for, like the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News and such. And there is a fair degree of bias to these publications. And I don't think it's a good idea. I think we need to, to be unbiased and let people make up their own minds and join in the conversation to get to the truth, no matter which way the cards fall, But I digress. But here.
Yeah, I was hoping that. I don't know if you know. Oh, there's Tamara. I didn't know if there was a video, if somebody recorded the actual debate for the people.
I recorded the whole thing.
You did? Is it
Yeah.
up on is it posted somewhere?
No, it took, because I recorded it on a camera for recording, not live. And so I need to strip it off and be able, because it was just me there running things. So it's like,
Because I agree with you. I don't, people ask me, like, I've had a couple of people call me since they've gotten their absentee ballot, and they're like, who should I vote for? And I
hate that question.
I don't like that question, but if I'll say, do your research, just Google some names, look at their websites. I can tell you what I know about certain people, but I don't want to tell you who to vote for. It's a slippery slope. I get that question on the senator all the time, the state Senate race. And, Mike Rogers, he's got the, Trump's endorsement and everything. But with that said, there's 3 other people, right? I mean, there's Pensler, and there's Sherry O'Donnell, and there's Justin Amash. And do your homework. Be an informed voter. Be an informed voter.
Be an informed voter. And I mean, look at things. If you want to know my opinion on it, Justin Amash has got way too many connections to China. And there's way too many connections there. And I've got some big questions on it. So I'll say, yeah, I've got questions on these people that would be a concern to me. And this is why. But I'm not going to tell somebody who to vote for. I'm voting for President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, because he was deprived of his office through a fraudulent, rigged, tanked, criminally certified election. And he needs that whole election. We will never know truly through the channels we have right now in the news or anything what the counts were. No. And I do think that because you can see when you look at how the votes came in, you can see they were changing them. And I'm not going to say who was changing them because we don't have the complete list, but it was changed all the way into the programming, way up into the actual operating systems within the machines. And that doesn't mean it was Dominion. It means that Microsoft is in on it. They're all the way up. They're all involved in this. This thing is so big, people can't even get their arms around how big this is. And they set the clerks up to be the fall guys. And the clerks are some of them are complicit. Some of them are been threatened and coerced, and they're trying to save their behinds. Some of them had no idea what was going on, but I can tell you 1/3 of the clerks quit in Michigan. So they knew something was up. But why they didn't stand up and say, hold the phone, we're going to chuck this whole thing right against the wall, I don't know, because the doctrine of the lesser magistrate stands. The people closest to the people are the ones charged to protect them. End of story. But you want to hear a couple of videos?
Wait 1 second. When you were talking about trust earlier and people lying, that resonated with me because every time I see the news and some elected official, some incumbent from the Democrat Party comes on and digs in deep about President Biden, I'm like, so you're going to boldface lie to me that there's nothing going on here. There's nothing wrong with him, where we can all see it and we've been watching it for months. But you're going to tell me he's absolutely fine for another 4 years. I can't trust a person that's lying to me. And trust is built over time. So these Democrat leaders, people should be really looking at them. It's eroding their credibility. It's eroding their trust. And
they should look at the Republicans. They should look at every single person out there and don't assume that just because they've got a label that they are who they said they are, because we have a little bit of a problem with infiltration here. This is it. The parasite class infiltrates and consumes anything that's good. I don't care what organization it's in. You're going to have a mix of good people and people that are there to tear the United States down. If you build something good up, the infiltrators are going to come in and they're going to try to destroy it. Assume they're there. You have to assume that they're there because that's how evil works. They never build anything for themselves, ever. Never, ever, ever. They only come to destroy, cheat, and steal. That's what they do. Think about how a parasite works. That's what they are. They are parasites. And And once we get our hands around the fact that just because they look like us doesn't mean that they are like us or they're even human, because I'm not even sure they're even human. I don't know if how and in what manner that is. But have you ever met somebody that you look at them and it's like any part of humanity or any part of them that looks like anything good is completely gone? They'll lie to your face. The minute you turn around, they would stab you and stab you in the back as quick as possible. They lie, they cheat, they steal because their native tongue is the tongue of their father, Satan himself. And it's like, I sit there and I look at that and it's like, some of us can kind of see through the bullshit pretty quick, honestly.
Well, I was extorted at a Trump watch party.
Of course.
I was extorted. I was completely lied to that if I needed to give $1,000 to put my campaign material out, because it was a sponsored event. It was not a sponsored event. It was bought and paid for by the Trump organization. But I was told that the other candidate there, he could put his stuff out, which actually was not even campaign material. It was state of Michigan material. But if I wanted to put my stuff out, I needed to donate $1,000.
Yeah, they're lying. Well, look what happened. And I point out the Michon Maddock electioneering rally that happened over there in Wisconsin. That was one of the most shameful events I've ever been to in my life. We could not get away with this as a company with how poorly this was planned. The area where the vendors were, there was a slipping, tripping 6-inch of mud hazard out there going between the tables. I guess somebody didn't think that through too much, huh? And it's like, it was ridiculous. They didn't have any hand sanitizers in the porta potties. There was no water there. They ran out of food. They ran out of water. And I had I had more than one person that came up to me and said, you know what this is all about? This is really all about making the precinct delegates feel good so they'll vote for the candidates we want them to vote for. Flat out said. I sat there and I was like, oh, so why don't we just admit to that this is an entirely electioneering system that's going on here. And so
I want to remind the precinct delegates, you're supposed to be representing the people in your district, not representing the leaders that called you in to be delegates.
Yeah,
so that's happening in Shelby Township. We have people in Shelby Township holding these little pizza parties and telling the delegates how to vote and what to do, when it's supposed to be the delegates that are going to their people and saying, this is what our people want.
Yep. So, you're exactly right. They're grooming you. They are grooming you. They are seeing if you're going to fit within their little illegal, unlawful organization that should be abolished, and see if you're going to play ball. This is the same thing. This is the same thing that they do in the Masons. It's the same thing that they do in a lot of these secret organizations or organizations that jump into power. They groom you. If you don't pass level 3, their ability to manipulate you and see how far you'll go to get into the organization and stay loyal to them. It's a gang.
I've been told to crawl under a rock. Nobody cares what you think. You have no intelligence. I've been called a cleaning lady, which I never, ever corrected because I'm a voter. And if I'm a cleaning lady, I'm still a voter. Hey, I'm a cleaning work lady. Hard.
Yeah, I'm a cleaning lady. I shovel horse crap. It's like the best job on the planet.
I pick up dog poop. So, So really, the mudslinging at me. My opponent called me a middle-aged housewife with nothing better to do.
Well, isn't that like perfect? Like that is like, what a badge of honor. That's like giving you a badge of honor. At least they acknowledge that you've got something pure and honest and good in you.
Well, and to me, I thought that, when the Me Too movement was going on, I was like, these women, what are they talking about? I grew up, I went through the workforce in the 80s and the 90s when it was still raging. And I thought it was over, but oh no, you get into politics. There's a glass ceiling for women in politics. I'm telling you, there is.
Well, what's really funny is I'm sitting there going, I never claimed a female business because I'm like, I'm not that pathetic. I can, you know, play on an even field with guys or women, and I don't need the pity points of having to have favor for being a woman in business. It's like, you know, tie my hands behind my back. I'll still kick your ass out there, you know?
Well, it's about the worst thing a client could say to me, a potential client. I'd get the phone call. I really wanted a woman CPA. And I'd be like, oh.
Thanks for insulting me. How about the person that's the best qualified?
How about you want a good CPA? Didn't anybody tell you I was good? That's what you want. You don't want a woman just because she's a woman.
Yeah, what's that Marxist nonsense out there trying to divide us by gender? And I don't care who does the job. I hope somebody can do the job that's qualified, because I'm going to go play in my garden, play with my dog, throw balls to my dog, and play with my bees and whatever it is. But you know, it's like it's the dumbest metric. You know, it's like, get the right person for the job, and I don't care who they are, and stop being a racist and a race baiter, because that's what it's all about. But yeah, I actually had somebody when I first started in business, and I went in for a loan. You want to talk about the little snowflakes that like want to wear the little pig genitalia hats on their heads to make them really look stupid. I mean, what a stupid, I can't even imagine something looking even stupider than that, you know? And went into this bank because I needed a loan. I was buying a property, and the person went through everything I had in front of them and honestly looked right at me and said, if you were a guy, I'd give you that loan. And, you know, yeah, literally turned me down because I was a woman. And I walked out. I'm like, oh, that was a bad mistake. You're going to really regret that choice. Came back later. And of course they're looking for my business later. And I'm like, you know, I don't know. I'm a woman. I don't know if you want to deal with me now. You know, it's like we got that woman thing going on there. He turned me down for a loan because I was a woman. And so maybe now it's time for you to learn a lesson and sit back and just smile and watch them squirm.
I was in a salary negotiation one time, and I had someone say to me, well, how much do you think a woman can actually make?
Yep.
I'm like, really?
Yeah, talk to some of us old duffers that were out there actually hammering this thing out, you know, because I'm 60. You and I are about the same age.
I'm 62. I'm also 60. I will be 61 next month. So. Oh,
really? Yeah. We're real close in age. So
yeah, August 1st.
60, I'm 61 in September. So awesome. Yeah. And so some of us old duffers that were out there that had to hammer it out, and people like, you know, I can remember so many instances, like you could write a book on it, and how you dealt with things when nobody really cared. You know, it was like, and you had to be tougher. You had to be tougher than the insults, I had somebody throw a check on the ground one time and expect me to pick it up. And I was like, hell will freeze over. And I just planted it, and I was like,
I had a guy ask me to address and stamp an envelope for him because he'd never done that before.
No, literally, this guy took the check and went like that. And was like super demeaning. And I was like, hell will freeze over. I will walk out of this, and you will live to regret this moment from now until Christ comes back.
Donna, it made us stronger. And
absolutely.
It did. It made us stronger. And I don't hold hard feelings to those men that treated me like that. I don't.
I think it's funny now. I thought it was funny at the time. I'm like, wow, you just proved out what kind of a piece of crap moron you are. And it's like, I'm going to have a great time with this, because you throw this stuff out in front of God and everybody, watch them run like little rats they are to the walls. You know, it's like, I'll throw them out there. It's like, you'll have to deal with what, you know, your lack of moral integrity. And,
well, I am the company I worked for, Joe Randazzo's Fruit and Vegetable in Detroit. They were a great company to work for. And I have no bad feelings about them at all. They're supporting me now. And I was very blessed to have that job. They're a family-owned business, and they're their largest Michigan retail produce company. And they respected family, which a lot of companies, you know, for a woman, that was a good thing for me, because if my kids were sick or I had something going on, they let me go. They let me go because they knew it was important. So our conversation just now, I don't want anybody to think that I have any bad feelings or bad experiences.
It's a growth moment for them. That's what it is, a growth moment. And
they were, well, and I some of the things I was just talking about happened in public accounting too. Because back when I was in public accounting, women were just starting to break through that industry. Now it's a majority of women are in public accounting. If you look at CPAs right now. But back when I started out, that was something new for women. Matter of fact, I was put on some jobs when I was working in Troy for a firm where they would say, well, we want this company to have a woman on accountant because they need to get used to working with women. I mean, that's the sentences that were used back then. Mm-hmm. They would not use that now. Yeah, I had a good career. My career has really brought me to where I am today. And I'm really grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it.
These are good discussions to talk about, though, because I listen to the snowflakes, and it's like they'll like, oh, I gotta have a safe space. It's like, since when?
Or somebody touched my shoulder. My boss touched my shoulder at work.
Good, come back. Whatever. It's like, I'm not just saying, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. It's like you don't want to touch it. Tell them, keep your freaking your rubbing paws off of me. You do that again, and I'm gonna sink a boot right up your ass. That's honestly, you don't like crawl in a corner and be a victim. You set it down and say, that will be the last time that you think about even doing something, because I don't appreciate this. Right. And it's done. Then it's just done. Or, sometimes people are just, they're just kind of, ignorant. You just kind of look at them going, yeah, you kind of got a lot to learn and let it roll. I mean, it depends if it's a direct threat or if it's just somebody that's kind of derping around, but it's interesting. But,
hey, I wanted to bring up something I did this week. I went with.
Do you want to look at any of the videos too
let's look at the videos real quick, and then I'll talk about what one of the things I did this week.
I'll put yours up too.
Hey everybody, we're here today. I'm here with Tammy Zacon, a good friend, and we are here for the debate for the sheriff's office in Macomb County. Got any thoughts on this today? How's it going to go?
I think it's going to be really predominantly with Team McCoskey because of the experience. When you have 35 years of law enforcement under your belt, serving in various task force and communities, I don't know how to beat 35 years of law enforcement. So that's going to be a tough one for the other candidates. But I look forward to their questions and the answers, and it should be a fun-filled evening. Go Team McCoskey.
I love that. We're gonna ask lots of questions here, and we're gonna do interviews and hear what people have to say, and it's gonna be a fun night. So we'll be back.
Yeah, I thought I like Tammy. She's nice, and it's fun to kind of get to know people.
Brandenburg News Network, and I'm here with Joe Zacon. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
You looking forward to the debate tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's talk about it. What's going on here?
One of the largest things that I've learned working with Terry and his experience, backtracking for a minute, we had an opportunity about half a dozen months ago when Terry was going to meet with us, but he got detained. And we said, well, that's unusual. He said, no, it isn't, because he was teaching 40 policemen about human trafficking. And that was just an amazing thought. There's not many people that know all of the capacity that he can bring forward of what he has in his life. We got to get Terry in there for sheriff.
Is it true that Macomb County is a sanctuary county?
Yes, it is.
What does that mean, and what's your thoughts on that?
The majority of the people that I've spoken to have no idea that Macomb County has been a sanctuary county since 2019. Hackle signed that back in 2019, and which allows all the illegal aliens to find a place. Now they're going to be dropping them off in Fraser. They're already there, and all the surrounding cities, Shelby, Clinton Township, and they're on their way. And Terry's going to be working very diligently to take care of this situation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
Now, understand, I went to different supporters. I tried to talk to people there that I would pick out. And I didn't get to every McCoskey supporter, or every Butnick supporter, every Kavisinski supporter, but I did try to talk to them, and I gave them all a chance.
Hey, I'm here with Jean Zott at the sheriff's debate in Macomb County. What you got to say about it? Any thoughts here, Jean?
Well, I'm super excited to hear what our Republican candidates have to say. We need the candidate that is most positioned to beat Tony Wickersham. So I think we're going to get some answers tonight. I wish them all well. I want them to have a good, clean debate. No name calling, no any of that. Just tell us the facts and let the voters decide. Have a great time.
Awesome. It's going to be fun.
And that's how the debate went. There was no name calling. There was none of that. It was a good, clean debate, good Q&A. I was real proud of all three candidates. They all did a great job. They did.
I gave them all at the end. I asked them all a question of, would you be willing to issue a warrant for the arrest of Gretchen Whitmer for crimes that she committed? And that was fun.
Oh,
wow. So go right to the throat on people. It's like, let's just come right down to what it needs to be. Your constitutional sheriff, are you going to carry out your office? Because it's the only office in the state of Michigan that can remove the governor.
Yeah.
So
this week I went with a couple friends of mine, and I went and saw The Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. I recommend people to go see this movie. It's sort of like The Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you saw that with Jim Caviezel about human trafficking. The Sound of Hope is a story of this church down in East Texas that 22 families adopted over 70 children from the foster care system. And the reason I'm bringing this up, this movie is just very eye-opening and just very hopeful, because this week Michigan just released an audit, a report on an audit update from 2018 and our failure in the Michigan for child welfare system. And it's a probe saying that they have not made all the improvements. They're still operating under the 72-hour rule, which if you call and say that there's a child's at risk, they give the department 72 hours to go investigate. Can you imagine waiting 3 days if you're getting beaten, or you're not getting fed, or you're being neglected? So a lot of legislators came out this week, including my opponent, all appalled about this report.
do you have a link that you can post in the chat here?
I can post the audit. This Bridge.
Post it in the private chat, and I'll put it up.
Yeah. This is the Bridge, Michigan report that just came out. I think it was yesterday. I've been following it just because I just saw this movie, and it was So what bothered me when I hear the legislatures talk about this report, like, oh my God, this is happening. This audit was a follow-up from 2018. So this has been 6 years since in 2018, they said, hey, our Michigan, the welfare system for our children is at risk. It's 6 years. And we're now just looking at it, and they're now just saying, hey, it still hasn't been fixed. So
it's shocking. They can pass a bill overnight that has shrimp on treadmills, but we can't take care of the kids, which is a clear and present danger, 6 years.
Well, yeah, 6 years since they recommended changes, and we're still failing. We're still failing our kids in Michigan. Yeah.
Doug Ringler, do you know anything about him?
No, I don't. I've heard the name.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is all. There's so much news out there to find. It's just incredible. Nobody can master all of it when we talk about how we really need to work together. It's so important to have a team of people that you can trust and bring things forward so that it can be handled quickly, not just to bring information forward to try to figure out how to use it to win a position of power, but actually fix things kind of backwards right now.
I mean, I can't believe when 2018, when this report came out saying that children were at risk in Michigan, we had serious problems in our child welfare department. We should have had somebody on immediate oversight to address these problems. But I'm not sure exactly what the state, when I'm successful, when I'm in office, I've got questions.
Well,
Good
look at
question.
what they did here. So they gaslit the whole thing. The head of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services called the Auditor General's work deceitful and dishonest. Of course it is, because HHS is one of the biggest human trafficking organizations in the United States, complicit with CPS. Of course they're gonna spin it out there. It's incredible. It's why are these people even there? These organizations, entities need to be abolished. They have no place in our government. It's not constitutionally allowable, and it should go away.
Well, somebody told me something recently, because he's involved in government, and he said the problem we have in Michigan is they have these goals and these ideas, and especially when you're looking at like this free lunches for everybody and free pre-K for everybody, but then they don't fund it. And it's too big to fund. Mental health was not funded. It was not renewed in this budget. We're not funding that. We say it's a huge problem, but then we don't fund it. So they roll out these laws and they roll out these ideas and these programs, but then they're never properly funded. I'm gonna bet CPS and child welfare worker, I bet you that is one of the most difficult jobs out there, to be able to have to go and look at child abuse on a regular basis and neglect. It's going to take a special kind of person, but I bet you they don't make hardly any money.
Well, the other thing is that you don't make money off of doing something that's a service when other people are in trauma, in my opinion. And so that's not where that's a service thing. You don't make money. That's how people have jerked everybody's head this way and that way with Catholic services, Lutheran services, Bethany Christian services, and all of these things that do the refugee resettlement crap, which is human trafficking. And the biggest thing that I see with this is that the statewide department should be absolutely abolished and cut. The way that I've got a very mentally ill daughter, very special needs, right? And her head was smashed in a train accident. Her mother died at her side. And so we've been dealing with this for 25, 26 years now. And the biggest problem, if you look at the history, it's from my perspective of mental health care for people, and we fund everything for her. We don't take any money, state money or otherwise. This all comes out of our pocket to take care of her, because God thankfully has blessed us to be able to do that. And I'm not saying it's if somebody doesn't have the financial means that they're in that or to shame them or anything like that. I'm just thankful that God has provided for us to do it this way. Okay.
You still had to take on the responsibility though, Donna.
That's true, but I don't want to make anybody feel bad for accepting assistance in this, because
of course
it's an overwhelming problem when you have people who are either our elder care or people that are mentally health, and the families are burdened with this care of something that requires 24/7 care that is just absolutely overburdening on people. I mean, people can't work full jobs. It takes the whole family and disadvantages them. I had some great plans on how to fix this. But the first thing that needs to happen is we need to abolish all of these state offices, all of them, and go back to what they did in the 80s. The 80s is when they destroyed mental health help. That's when they destroyed it. They got rid of all the county homes. The counties used to have county farms, county homes for people. And if anybody says, well, they're not mainstream, you're an idiot. You can't mainstream some of these people. It's like saying that, okay, for my daughter, she's missing half of her brain. That's just the reality. You can look at a CAT scan and say, she is literally missing half her brain. Now, if you think she's going to step in and be able to function in society, I got another thought coming to you. She's going to completely melt down because she can't handle the stress. Okay. It's sort of like saying, okay, if you look at how an amputee is missing a limb or something, and say, okay, we're gonna try to make that person function exactly as somebody could who's, say, an Olympic athlete. It's going to be very difficult to compete in those venues, right? There is a physical change. The problem with mental health is people don't see it. If somebody sees an amputee, they automatically register, oh, okay, because you can see it. If you have somebody who has mental illness, not that they can't do things, but somebody who's mental, it's the cognitive ability to recognize there's a problem. That's the biggest problem. Somebody who's mentally ill, we look at them and think, well, they're fine. We just have to give them services. We got to do this. No, it's not going to happen. They are never going to have the capacity to, they can enjoy life. I'm not saying that, but you can't assume that they're going to be able to be mainstreamed. It's a totally different thing. If my daughter were not on maximum amount of drugs for her illness, and this is just the way it is, I'm an anti-drug person. I really am. If we did not have the psych meds for her, she would probably be homicidal. And that's the truth. You are not going to ever have that problem resolved in the way that just says, we're just going to put them in school and it's going to be fine.
Well, and what you just said, Donna, we're going to put them in the classroom and then let the teacher try to deal with this.
And now she can't teach anybody
people in the class. And I talked to a Troy school district teacher. She had like 3 or 4 kids in her class that had aides with them. And these kids, now some can be mainstreamed and can function. But when they're interrupting the class over and over and over again, now you've got a problem for the other 26 kids that are in that class.
It's not kind to them. If you really know somebody who's truly mentally ill, I'm not talking, some of the, I'm not saying that people that go through depression or people that are having some issues aren't having a problem. They also need to have somebody sit with them. That's not what I'm saying. But somebody who is absolutely clinically diagnosed as absolutely mentally ill, past the ability to be really helped. And very few people ever see people like that they don't really have the experience. So they look at them and they think that they're okay. And people like my daughter will be able to hold it together for a short period of time. And then they go into complete meltdown. And when you see somebody who goes into complete meltdown where they're laughing and crying at the same time because they're so traumatized that it's like they're nuts. I mean, they're really absolutely irreconcilably having a problem.
Wow.
And I mean, there's ways to do it, but the point being is that we have to defund this at the state level and put the money back into the communities. And so that we're dealing with human issues on a smaller, more local level, instead of it being, we're just going to pour all the money into the funds and whoever knows where it goes. It never gets to the people. The only way to do that is to do that on a local level.
Well, I have a relative who has a daughter and a sister that they're both special needs. She told me that when she goes to Macomb County to get services, she can't make an appointment. Now she works. So she goes there in the morning and you have to just wait until somebody can talk to you. Is that going to be 10 minutes or is it going to be 3 hours? But she's trying to work. She's also trying to manage the care for her daughter and her sister. And to me, that is insane that Macomb County thinks that that's a good way to handle things. Just let people walk in and sit there. So you've got this caregiver that's already struggling with 2 people that they're caring for, and you have no respect for their time at all. They
get blamed.
They have to wait for you. You will not give them an appointment and say, come in at 10 o'clock. You'll have an appointment at 10 o'clock with a social worker and we'll work with you. No, you come in and you wait until we can talk to you. That's insane to me.
It's insane, but not only that, for caregivers, what ends up happening is that they get blamed for the problems that these people have. Well, what did you do to make them this way? And, that sort of thing. I mean, that happens a lot when you talk to people like she has a psychiatrist. And it's like the caregivers are blamed for the injuries. Well, how did they get this way? They look normal. What did you do to mess up their head? It's like, well, nothing. I'm trying to, we've had, if I'm working, I've had people say, where is her mother? And I want to respond, well, her mother's dead. And I stepped in and adopted her. I am her mother now, but this is a problem that was not created by me. I stepped in to help. And so, you know what, you see what I'm saying is that they want to blame people for when things go wrong in the world. And unfortunately, the world is a fallen world. Things are going to go wrong. We're not going to understand it, but blaming does not help anybody. You got to get to the core of the problem and fix the core of the problem. But a quick response of it's that person's fault because I don't like that person, or on and on and on, is not helpful. And caregivers, I have a real big spot in my heart for caregivers, whether it's for people that have dementia. And there's a lot of people that are caring for aged parents with dementia. I did. And it's a tough go before my dad died. Yeah. Did
my sister and I both left our jobs in 2018 to care for our mother in our home.
Yep.
She's in memory care now. It's been since 2018.
I'm gonna go next to something because I'm not done beating this dead horse yet on what happened at the
but I don't want you to, I don't want Jim to have to wait. He's on at 10, right?
He's not there yet.
Oh, so, he's not? Okay.
He'll come on in a minute. When he gets on, I'll see him and we'll bring him in.
Yeah. Boot me off when Jim gets. I don't want him to wait. He's got some important things to talk about.
Yeah, no worries. I want to show you something that I addressed, and it was about and I'm gonna say it. Just because you did something wrong doesn't, or you want to apologize for something, it's not always enough. And I'll tell you why. We had that situation I talked about somebody who thought it was a real good idea to go after Terry McCoskey and say he didn't even come to his nephew's funeral. Well, first of all, you don't bring that kind of stuff into politics or into anything like it. That was such a outrageously wrong way to approach it. And so I'm gonna bring it up because I brought it up yesterday on what a woman named Darlene Dotzel said. So she put this out here and she tried to apologize, but I want you to listen to this apology. I truly apologize for any possible misinformation during this time. The information was from a person within Terry's camp. Who the heck said it? You can say that all you want, but she's deflecting the fault on what she had said on somebody else and said, well, somebody else said this. And I believe the person. I should have vetted it. And again, I apologize. I'm so sorry, but I am giving absolutely no wiggle room on this. You do not, under any circumstances, go after or try to determine how another person deals with their grieving process. It's not okay. This is not okay. And
it's not okay. And that was an absolute lie. Just because, Terry and I did an event the Sunday after the funeral. And I know that Anna and Terry had completely checked out from campaigning and everything from the day that they heard that their nephew died, and was murdered.
Yeah.
From the day he was murdered until the day that Sunday after the funeral, which I think the funeral was on a Friday. So they were dealing with family. They were dealing with their own grief. And they were trying to support the people around them and grieve themselves. So,
and I want to say something here because I was at the funeral. I was at their house. I was at the funeral and such. And for somebody to use that to support because they're supporting a different candidate as a political move is just one of the greatest evils I have ever seen.
Well, there was other lies spread about him too, saying that he lives. They do live with Anna's parents because their parents have dementia.
Yeah, that's another thing. They stay there to take care of aged parents.
They're keeping them in their home. That's what they want.
She was trying to demonize them for, they live in their parents' basement. And it's like, and are you really going to go there? And Terry and Anna are there to take care of an aged parent they could have moved. They could live anywhere they want to. They chose to stay to take care of an aged parent. And what a piece of crap would throw that out there in order to justify a candidate or to harm a candidate and look at him and not look at him as a personal thing. I'm disgusted with this. And so this is what I wrote for this post, her apology. And I'm going to just say it. This is what I wrote and I stand by it. She said, glad to see that. This is what I said. Glad to see Darlene apologize for her behavior, but it's a half-ass apology blaming bad information from someone on Terry's team doesn't excuse the crass nature of bringing up anything questioning behavior during loss and death. I'm sorry, it's not okay. People deal with grief and loss in very personal ways. And we are never to question people's coping process when there's a loss.
Amen.
Never. Everybody deals with different, never in conjunction with politics. Not okay ever. Silence is usually the most elegant way to handle those situations, just for future reference, Darlene. It's sometimes best. Let's just be quiet. You do not open your mouth at those. And furthermore, I'm going to tell you what she did. I was out there taping an interaction when somebody said to her, "Why did you put these lies out here?" And I was taping it. I didn't say a word. I was just sitting there taping it, right? They got in their car. Darlene and her friend goes through or next to the place that I was at, and starts shouting insults at Donna Brandenburg. First of all, I don't really care. I could care less what anybody says about me. I'm like, it's going to bounce off me like water off a duck. I could care less what anybody says. It doesn't have the effect on me that it seems to on other people, because, I answer to God alone. Opinions are opinions. Everybody has them, and everybody knows the saying about opinions and what they're like. And so, but it was just kind of shocking. So she goes in. She didn't even have the guts to stand there and have a conversation to my face. She did a drive-by whole bunch of loudly yelled insults at Donna Brandenburg for just standing there and saying nothing. I had nothing to say. But you know what? You're going to pick a fight. Don't bring a nail clipper to a fight.
I certainly wouldn't want to pick a fight with you.
But yeah, it's like don't.
But I do want to say that the Sunday after the funeral, Terry and we attended Families Against Narcotics. It was a 5K walk run at Jimmy John's Field. He had a table and I had a table. We were the only 2 candidates in Macomb County that supported this event. And how many candidates are there in Macomb County? There was over 2,000 people there. Fentanyl is a crisis. Addiction is a crisis. Lucido had a table, but he wasn't there. Hackle wasn't a sponsor, like a public sponsor, but he ran in the race, so he was there. It was an incredible event. In my opinion, it was the perfect event for Terry and Anna to get back on the campaign trail. They were greeted by so many loving people. Greg Swan from Fathers Against Fentanyl was there, listening to the director give the introduction for the speech about all these people. They had these flags. If it was a one color flag you raised if you're fighting addiction, one color if you raised your flag if you've recovered, and one color flag, orange, if someone had died from addiction. When they raised the orange flags, I'm going to start crying right now. It was like somebody kicked me in the gut to see this sea of orange flags from people that have died from fentanyl. And I'm going to tell you, this has been one of Terry's campaigning points, is the fentanyl crisis in America right now, and how he is dedicated to saving lives and fighting that.
And whose fault is it? It's our own government. They're
Yes.
the ones that are bringing the drugs, the fentanyl, the cocaine in. It's our own people that are sitting in the seats that refuse to do anything, because it's a money laundering for them to fund the military industrial complex to line their own pockets, start wars, and kill human beings. The enemy is within.
I talked to a young lady on 4th of
Not
July.
China. China's a paper tiger. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. A young lady on the 4th of July. She is a human resource manager for a large company here in Michigan. She had 3 fentanyl overdoses on one day in her workplace. One of the young men died. So you can't tell me that this isn't a problem.
Clear and present danger is there right now, and I can see Jim backstage, so we'll
Okay.
enter.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna tell you what is that the clear and present danger is that they know how to aerosolize fentanyl. If that doesn't make everybody's blood run cold, it should, because they know how to aerosolize it. And if they touch one of those things off at somewhere between 300 and I don't know how high the top limit is, feet, they could take out a lot of people. And they've got tranq in there now too. And so Narcan does not touch it. You get hit with tranq, you're done. You're going to be dead before you hit the ground, and there's no recovering from that, because they mixed it with a horse tranquilizer, it's immune to Narcan. And so, but everybody out there should be carrying around, in my opinion, some Narcan because this is a clear and present threat. It was brought in by our own government. This is not necessarily the Chinese. The Chinese are working in complicity with the deep state, and it's to, in fact, eliminate human beings just like they did with COVID and the shot. So that's Donna Brandenburg's statement on that. So anyhow, last words here. I appreciate you coming on today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. And just tell everybody the absentee ballots are out. You've got to vote. You've got to vote. You got to vote. It's your right. And it's your privilege. So
awesome. Well, I will be right back. Thanks for coming on, Jean. And
okay,
I'll be right back. And I want to have you on again soon because I love our conversations because it gets past the fluff. You know, if I can find anybody out there that'll get into the real stuff and not sit there in fluff land, you know, I love talking to you, but you actually have content. That's what Ivan Rakelin always says. He goes, I actually have content. So anyhow, have a great day, and I'll be on in the second hour here with Jim Runestad, the Senator of Michigan. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Me too. God bless you.
God bless you too. Bye. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 11th day of July 2024, and welcome to our show. Second hour here, I'm going to bring in Senator Jim Runestad, and I'm really excited to talk to this guy. I don't know if you guys saw the video that he put out, but you know what? Anybody that's not talking bullshit up there in an office is become a friend to mine, and I haven't met him personally yet, so this is the first time. But I loved what he had to say. I'm glad for coming forward and explaining things because we have a problem. And I think this is going to be a fun interview. So welcome this morning, Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Love your show, and I can assure your listeners there will be no fluff on the show today.
I was pretty extra sure that was the way it was going to go, and I love that. And I wanted to bring up your website here so people can find you, follow some things that you're doing because you earned an awful lot of attention and respect from Donna Brandenburg with those videos you put out, and I'm so proud of you. I really am. That you just busted everybody in the chops, and I love it. So anyhow, it's Senator Jim Runestad, RUNESTAD.com, and you're also on Twitter. So I wanted to show you. I actually have a video that we played through this video, and I got through 2 minutes and 43 seconds with Jean, and I just want to show you where we ended, and then thought I'd play just a few seconds of this, and then we're going to go right into it.
Sure. But this is going to be different this time. They try to choreograph everything to keep you in confusion. And once you voted for the leader and the rules, any hope of independence at that point is gone. Any defiance, and they will bring the hammer down and crush you like an old piece of chalk. They have the tools. What the Run Michigan Right Fund now is trying to do is make a historic change by informing you about how the system works and what you can do to fix the problem. The Run Michigan Right Fund has sent out 20 reform rules out to the August 6th primary candidates. Over 360 candidates have been emailed, texted, sent a postcard to make sure they have it. And they were asked, will you support these reform rules that would make a big difference?
Yeah, YouTube likes to mess with me here, but that's okay. We'll bring it back on at some point in time. So, but anyhow, I was just super excited to see what you put out there, and I've been watching your stuff for quite a while, actually, and very thankful. I'm going to make sure this doesn't pop back up again. Very thankful for all you're doing. So welcome here. I'd like you to kind of introduce yourself, and wherever you want to go with this is our time and your time to talk about whatever you'd like.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's been a great experience that I have had in the last 9.5 years. When I was just a member of the general public, business owner, I was always wondering why things are the way they are. And I tried changing things from the outside, and I found that nobody on the inside gave a rat's patootie about doing the right thing. So I thought, well, I have to get into the system to make change. And I found it is so completely corrupt that very seldom, Democrat or Republican, do they seem to do things for the right reasons. If the people pulled back the veil and looked behind the curtain and said, my God, you could probably pick 100 people off of the street and they would make more honorable decisions than I see coming out of the legislature. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that it's set up as a corrupt system from the get-go. Before you ever get there, it's corrupt. It's corrupt while you're there. And I'll give you an insight into how it works. So when I ran for office in 2014, I was out hitting doors. I was trying to win a very contested primary. I never went to Lansing, never met with lobbyists or anybody like that, just head down, working my butt off. Found out I won late in the evening by 249 votes.
Oh, we got froze up there just a minute. Let's see what's going on here.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you got froze up there. Did you get a call or something?
No, it just said it froze up. Hopefully it won't happen again. We'll see.
Yeah, what's really interesting is you'll watch. I have cyber experts that come on, and if they don't want somebody's message out there, they'll actually put state level interference in the line. And we picked up on it and such, and it's not like just normal hackers. It's stuff that's like a state type level hacking, but that's okay because it's like we still get it. We keep going.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So then what happens is you win your election, and then sometimes people won't find out until maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. The polls close at 8. These things go back and forth. That's what happened in my case. It went back and forth, precinct by precinct. So you may be up very late, and then all the winners need to be in Lansing at 9 a.m. the next morning. Now, you're going to go there for the express purpose of voting in the leadership. Now, all I ever knew is a couple of guys came out and talked to me during the campaign. I'm in the midst of the campaign. And that's what I knew about these two people, basically nothing. And I think most of them know basically nothing unless they get a check from one of these candidates, or sometimes they'll bring out some workers. I did have one of those two bring some workers out that were hitting doors. And that's about all you know about this leadership. Mm-hmm. So you go in 9 a.m., you're sleep deprived, you don't know what the process is going to be, and basically you vote in the leadership. Now, when you're in the majority, that means you have in the House the Speaker, and in the Senate the Majority Leader are done. That vote is taken that morning. Now, if you're in the minority, you're the minority leader in the House and Senate. And so then you go through November, there's hunting season, December, there's the holidays. In between everything, you are meeting with colleagues, you're having meetings with the caucus, you have people coming in and out of your office, members of the public, lobbyists. It's just drinking from a fire hose through November, December. And then the first thing you do when you convene in January, the first week of January, is you vote in the rules, and then you vote in that same leadership. So you get there, and you are, again, it's your first day of swearing in. You're going to have your family there. You get photos with the family. you got friends there, you got all this hoopla going on, decisions to make, you're going to get your seat assignment. There's all this stuff on the agenda. But one of them in there is voting in the rules. So what they do is they will give you a few tweaks to the rules. They always do this on purpose because this is watch this hand, don't watch this hand. So they say, look, we got some commas to change here. We got some, the sentence didn't go good. We think this is a little better. They'll make a few tweaks. And they say, these are the rule changes. And we're going to vote these rule changes in. And the first thing I did, and again, this is that first day of session, I said, well, these are the changes. I want the rules. And they were like, you want to see the rules? Yeah, I want to see. I want to see the actual rules. Oh, so I got this agenda about 3 hours before we're going to go on session and vote. And it was about an hour and a half later, I get these rules. I've got family, friends there. You're going through other agenda items. All this hoopla is going on, and you're trying to read these rules. And frankly, when you're a freshman, they don't make much sense to you anyway. So we go in and we vote these rules in. And even the ones who are returning, it's all choreographed the same for them. They didn't think about the rules or pay any attention to the rules until that next cycle when they vote them in. Again, they do the same routine for them. So everybody's in confusion. Everybody is purposefully having all of these things thrown at them at one time. And then you vote the rules, and at that point, you're done. Because the rules are so draconianly stacked in terms of the person that you have elected as the leader, the speaker or the leader in the Senate. At that point, they have absolute crushing power.
Well, there you go. We're frozen up again, but that's okay. We will endeavor to persevere here. So sometimes I can keep the connection up here, but sometimes on the other end they get them. So we'll see. We'll see if he comes back in. Let's see. Give him a call a minute. We'll try to get Jim come back up here again. This does happen. They apparently don't want him to say what he needs to say. There you go. You turn sideways now. We'll get it figured out here. Can't get too excited. My dad used to always say that. Don't get too excited. Just keep going, and he'll come back on, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Sometimes when people are on, they're actually having problems with the connection, or if they're on the phone, the call comes in. But it looked like that was a connection problem. So you lose, bad guys. We're still coming back. Anyhow, somebody on here said, Gene, hang on. There you are. How you doing?
Yeah, the deep state's trying to stop this interview.
That's what I told you. They will continue to pick away at this, but that's okay. You guys keep trying. I keep telling them, we already put up tour notes. I can put up 100,000 more of them, and it's going to be like playing whack-a-mole to silence us, because that just doesn't work too well for me. So anyhow, go ahead.
So then when you have these rules in place, the leader can literally, by the way, they appoint all the committee chairs, and they can take your committee chair position away because they could come to you, and they do, and say, hey, I don't really like this bill. It better not show up. Or you can have a hearing on this bill, but there better not be a vote. Or this terrible bill that you think is horrible, you better fast track this and get it out of committee real fast. I mean, they have the power to tell you all that, and if you don't do it, you're out of there. So many of your listeners are going to go, why are bills that are so good bills? We'll call the chair, we'll call the legislator, and they never gets a hearing. Maybe that chair wants to have that run, but they know their job's on the line. The majority leader or speaker could come in and say, Bob, didn't I tell you I didn't like that bill? I think you just lost your chair position, Bob. And that's how they can control that. If you anger them, they could remove you from all committees. If you anger them some more, they can take away your staff and replace your staff with people that say, Bob is, as far as we know, he's in an alley drunk. He was a little late at the stripper bar the other night. There's nothing you can do about it. They can strip you of all communication with your district. So when people call in, you don't know what's being said. You can no longer mail. You can no longer email. You have absolutely no ability to communicate what you're doing. And it's all because you were doing the right thing that they could be doing this. They can take away your parking spot. I've known some people who have had that privilege lost. And they said January, February, March, walking through a blizzard to get in there, try to find the parking place. They can, and in the past, they even took your chair and your desk off of the floor. So you're standing in there. The only thing you can do then is just hit the yes and no button. Constitutionally, they can't take that, but they can take everything else. You could see, I mean, where could you imagine that in local government or something that you would have these crazy rules that you agree to that basically can smash you down if you don't comply with leadership? And very often what they want is not for the voter. It's not for your district. It's not for what you promised. It is the opposite of all that. It is for them. It is for power. It is for money. And believe me, this is not partisan. This system is supported by both the Democrats and Republican leadership because they both want that power. They figure, hey, it's going to go back and forth. I also want the massive power to crush any opposition in the chamber. So what we've done is we put together a series of 20 different reforms. And they were all mailed out to every one of the candidates running in the August 6th primary, Democrat and Republican. Incumbent and outsider, all of them, 360 something.
Is it on your website?
Boy, I'll have to make sure if it certainly isn't on the Senate website because this isn't done through the Senate. This is done separately. It's
what was it, Michigan what?
Run Michigan Right. If you look that up, you can access the survey there. Run Michigan Right Fund. The other place, if you go to my Twitter, which is the main thing.
Oh, I got it right here. Yeah, you got a good Twitter channel too. So I follow it too. I can't get past the X thing. So here we go, and I'm gonna see if I can.
There should be at the bottom link is all of the survey. Yep, there it is.
This is great. See, this is what we do. This is real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table, and we do research and bring things up as they come up. Because I don't like to curate content. It's like we should just let God lead us where it's going to go. And so there you go. Absolutely.
And to give you a few highlights, and I'd encourage all of your viewers not only to read those 20, because there's a headline, there's a what is the problem, and here is the solution. And all 20 of these, it has been emailed out to every one of the candidates. We did a text message out to every one of the candidates, and we sent a postcard out to every one of the candidates. So there's no way they could say they didn't receive this. I believe we have around 45, last I checked, that had responded. So there's still a ton of them out there who have not responded. And believe me, if they're not responding, it's not for you that they're not responding. It's not for the voter that they're not responding. It is for themselves that they're not responding. Because let me tell you some of the reforms that are in these rules. One is that it requires 72 hours to have the completed appropriation bill, which was $83 billion, 72 hours for us to have that bill in our possession and the media's possession before we vote on the bill. Typically, literally, they'll give you hours. I think last year it was 3 hours, and it was 1,600 pages. So there's somewhere around 1,600 to 2,000. And believe me, this is very small font, and it is the most complex stuff. They get together in a back room, the leaders do, of the House, Senate, and Governor, and they start parsing out the goodies. In this most recent bill, there's 400 million goodies. The goodies are like no bid contracts to private companies. There's a whole bunch of those in Macomb County. So when these legislators say, I brought home the bacon, I brought home the bacon. You know what the bacon is oftentimes? A no bid contract of taxpayer money going directly to Joe Blow Do you think Joe Blow appreciates that? $20 million he got? Do you think he's going to help Bob, the legislator, the next go round, or maybe his next fundraiser because he just got millions of taxpayer dollars? That's bringing home the bacon. So when these guys are doing their ribbon cutting and their dirt shoveling, or they're holding a big cardboard check of the 20 million they brought home to the district, very often is nothing to do with anything for the voter or the district. It is a no bid contract for a private company with your taxpayer dollars. So in order for us to even have a hope to figure some of this out, it requires a minimum of 72 hours for us to see that bill before it gets voted on. Right now, there is no requirement. And there's going to be so many legislators fighting like hell to not answer that question. They have these non-disclosure agreements. That's another one. So the companies are going to get all of this massive infusion of cash. So you have this meeting with the company, and they always select a few of the legislators they know are going to go along, and they say, okay, yeah, this is good. We'll go out there and sell it. We'll push it behind the scenes. We'll make it all happen, and we're not going to disclose anything to the public with a non-disclosure agreement. This reforms eliminates that. They also have what's called
I got to say something. So you have to have, you can get around it by 2/3 of the voters of the chamber who are actively involved in hiding this.
If the 2/3 I can agree with, because there could be a special case where they're bringing and they're saying the company's going to present to this group of people some very inside stuff that they didn't want a competitor to know about. So you as the state are going to make a decision, and you need to know this. Well, we didn't want our competitors to know. But then you'd have to bring it to the whole chamber and explain that this is a special case. Right now, it's nobody has any controls.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you explaining that to me, because I was like, what? Why? So I can see why you would do that now. And thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and to get 2/3, believe me, isn't going to be no easy task.
Yeah,
it's not like that's going to be a slam dunk under no circumstances. Right now, there's nothing you could. The leader could bring in a bunch of the good old boys and girls, and hey, we got this special deal, man. We're gonna appropriate all of this money to this corporation. There could be some good stuff coming back to us, boys and girls. All this crap that goes on, that would stop if you had to present to the whole caucus, the whole chamber, and get 2/3 to vote to agree to, all right, we're gonna have this NDA. By the way, this non-disclosure agreement. By the way, we're all gonna see it. Normally, you don't even see these things. So yeah, that would be a huge improvement. Also, we will have all these appropriation bills that the House and Senate agreed to. That okay, here's the appropriations that we've put on the table. It goes into this conference committee with the leaders of the House, the Senate, and the governor, and they throw in a mountain of new spending. Bob and Sue were really compliant. Everything in Lansing is how compliant you are. It's not, are you doing a good job? You could be drunk in the alleyway every day. They don't care. What they want is compliance, absolute compliance. Even if it's absolutely against your voters, they don't care. It's, are you compliant with the goals of the leadership? If you're compliant, you get the goodies when they get together. Well, Bob's been a real team player. He's got this private company, a buddy of his owns, that he needs a no-bid contract for his buddy, and he's been a good guy. Let's give him, $10 million for his buddy. That's how this stuff is done. And so this would eliminate the conference committee adding anything new that the legislature has not seen. Honesty and punishment, all of these things I just talked to you about, where they can say, well, Bob, he really wasn't very compliant in that last vote. We won him on that dirty, rotten crony capitalism vote, and Bob didn't go for it. In fact, he spoke against it. We think that we need to sanction Bob, and we're going to remove him from his committees, and we're going to replace his staff and anything they want to do. So this says that you have to have 2/3 vote of the chamber to remove a privilege from a member. Why should one person be able to strip all your ability to do your job when you're duly elected by about 95,000 people in the House and 260,000 in the Senate? Have one person say, I'm stripping you of everything. I just don't like the way he didn't do what I told him to do. I mean, did the voters want this kind of system? No, they absolutely did not. Another one is no lame duck session. What they do is, if the Democrats come up short this time, you're going to see the biggest spending boondoggles you have ever seen, because from that election in November to the end of December, they can just gush through billions and billions in a lame duck session of spending and put through the most incredible crap. Republicans do it too. So this would end the lame duck session. After the election, then there will be no more voting until the new team is put in place in January. So there's the worst garbage comes out in lame duck session. So this would eliminate that. Compliance with freedom of information. We are the least transparent state. Every state knows that. Michigan's the least transparent. Transparency is the sunshine. It's the disinfectant. And because we're the least transparent, I also believe we are the most corrupt there is.
I would agree with you on that. And why is that? What is it about Michigan? Because I've been saying for a while, I think Michigan is the head of the snake. And I believe it's the head of the snake is in Michigan. There's so much money here. Plus, we've got the Great Lakes, and those kids that are coming from the border, there's a pipeline of them basically that get dumped into the Great Lakes and they disappear and we never see them again.
I say it goes back to the rules again. I remember Shirkey. He was Mike Shirkey. He was the leader of the Senate. And he absolutely killed all transparency, FOIA, all of this stuff. Before him was Meekhoff, Arlen Meekhoff, the good old boy, Arlen Meekhoff. Both these guys, they were not going to allow any transparency in, and they had the power. That's why it's so important to get these rules changed. There should not be an absolute dictatorship, which is the current system we have. It's a complete dictatorship of the leader, and the rules are written that way. That's why I'm so glad you're doing this. I'm hoping I'm going to come out to Macomb tonight. I'm going to talk to the county party, and a lot of the candidates are going to be there. I'm going to say, why won't you guys answer this? Tell the people if some of these they may have some issues with or want some tweaks to it. That's fine. There's a place in the survey. We're using SurveyMonkey, so it'll come back to us. They can write all their comments in there. We can get all that information. But the majority of them so far have not responded. Why haven't they responded? I'm sure you get a lot of pressure from the ones who want to be the leaders on the Republican side and the current leaders on the Democrat side is saying, hey, we like the system. We want that power.
Yeah, we don't want to be held accountable is what they don't want, is being held accountable to the people, we the people. They want to be in the little club.
Yep, they want to be in the club. That club is so critical. Sometime we have more time. I'll tell you about beyond the rules. I'll tell you sometime about Gary Glenn, who's since passed away, but it was a great friend of mine, and he gave one of the best speeches I ever heard in my life. When there's time, it would take me time to dissect all that as a separate thing, but we'll have to do that. But anyway, back to our rules, that you can't censor the communication. So right now, everything that I put through that has to be paid through the business office runs through the Democrat business office, and they censor everything that I put through. They'll say, nope, you can't say Democrat, you could say majority party. You can't say illegal, you can say undocumented, and all of this crap that they censor. That should not be part of the business decision of the majority. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. What business is it of theirs to moderate your language in a way that helps them on either side of the aisle. So this would put an end to that. A huge one is what I talked about before. David J., actually, I'm sure some of your listeners or viewers remember him. Back in the day when he was there, he found out that we vote the next day, and he put in a proposal that they wait 7 days minimum. And he got signatures from enough of the incoming members that actually passed. And so from that point on, when you got elected, instead of 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going and voting on people you know nothing about, you have 7 days to meet with them, talk with them, find out about them. And that's the way it ought to be, a minimum of 7 day wait. Well, when he left, they reverted back to 9 a.m. So this is so critical to have the time to say, hey, there's all these rules. Most of them now, I'll tell you, I think most of these candidates know there's rules out there. We have pounded and pounded them to answer this, to read these rules. I think they're going to have a hard time not only not reading them, but reading them and go, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This really empowers me as a legislator when I get there over the next 2 years. They can see, hey, this isn't helping me. So hopefully we get that change, that we delay this election till 7 days after the election. That would make a huge difference. Another one is no more omnibus budgeting. Both sides love the omnibus budgeting, $83 billion between the general budget and the school aid budget. They throw in all this crap. We should be voting department by department. Health and Human Services, the biggest one, we should be voting on that separately because they're filled with garbage. And I mean, so much wasteful spending and good old boy taking care of back scrap and good old boy. That's what happens when you have these gigantic omnibus budgeting. Freedom of speech. The House, you have to go ask the leader, the speaker, Mr. Speaker, please, Mr. Speaker, could I please give a speech? Well, Bob, I don't think I liked your last vote. No, you can't have a speech. Well, in the Senate, we all, when it comes to statements, we can press a button and get up there and speak on any issue we want. That should be in the House. How any member of the House would say, I don't want that privilege, is beyond me, unless they're part of the control freak group that wants to silence everybody. So they would get a 5-minute statement just like we have in the Senate. Another one is that we in the Senate have what's called an unlimited no vote explanation. So you vote no on a bill, you can get up, press your button, get up there and say, I'm voting no on this bill because of blah, blah, blah. And in the House, they don't have that. I mean, the House is so censorship filled that they should have these same rules that we have in the Senate, that you push the button, you get up and you tell the voters why you voted no. There's also a provision that allows legislators to be lobbyists in other states, not in Michigan, but in other states. What happens is this commingles like you wouldn't believe. Well, I'm actually not lobbying in Michigan for the energy companies, but the energy companies in Michigan sure love you, or whatever your entity is. You should not be a lobbyist anywhere in the nation, hired paid lobbyist when you're also a legislator. Another one is that we need to elect the committee chairs. When I was on the county commission in Oakland County, we elected the chairs. It made such a difference. You'd have to get up in front of your colleagues and say, hey, I have some background in taxes or building or whatever it is. And I plan on running this committee with great decorum and make sure everybody's voices are heard and blah, 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 blah. If you got up there and you bald-faced lied and you, like so often happens in the legislature, the chair runs all their own bills through so they can get lots of media and they get lots of money and they get lots of attention, and they kill all the other members' bills. But they serve at the will of the leader or the speaker, and the speaker doesn't really care how abusive they are as long as that person is beholden to the speaker. So when the speaker comes and says, Bob, I want this bill. I know you spoke against it and everything when you ran for office, but I want it through. So you're to push it through, Bob. That is, if you want to hold your chair position, Bob. You know what happens if you don't do what I tell you to do. So it's so completely corrupt. If they had to get in front of their colleagues and say, listen, here's how I plan on running my committee. It's going to be done with decorum. I'm going to take questions from both sides of the aisle. This should not be partisan, by the way, these chair positions. They both should be saying, listen, Democrat, Republican, I'm giving you your due. In fact, I wanted also one of the provisions, you get 5 minutes to ask a question and make comments. You see this all the time in Congress. What a difference. In the House and Senate in Michigan, the chair just gavels you down. I mean, I'll start a question and the gavel comes crashing down. We've run out of time, Senator. There's not the time for the senator. And then they'll let their special guest that they brought in go on for 15 minutes, blathering in all directions, making no sense at all. I'll say, I have a question. Can you answer why the gavel comes in? Senator, there's no time for this. No time for this. This is the garbage, the crap that these chairs do. Control freaking. You know, if they had to go back to their colleagues and get reappointed, there isn't a chance in hell. But it's all completely corrupt. You know, there's 20 of these. I haven't went through them all, but you know, I've given you enough of a flavor, and I think I don't want to belabor the point. Every one of your viewers can go on that website, Run Michigan Right Fund, and they can read them all. I'd encourage them to do it. But more important than reading these is contact your legislator and say, listen, it's a primary coming up. We want to know where you stand. And if it's contested, by God, we want to know where you stand. But even if it's not, you know, for us, I mean, when we come to your coffee hours, your fundraisers, we're going to say, why wouldn't you? Why? I mean, you're looking for our support, but you won't tell us what you feel about these. Why? Well, we all know why, but I mean, I'd ask them why. I mean, the reason they're not doing it is the pressure from above. Those that are going to be running for leadership, so you answer that survey, buddy. The hammer, you know, like Runestad said, bust you like old Chuck. It's coming your way, buddy. If you answer that questionnaire, you answer that survey. Well, it's got to be the people saying, I don't care what that leader, he was not even elected. I mean, first off, between Republicans and Democrats, we don't know for sure who's going to win. If they do win, we don't know who's going to win the leadership positions. So they shouldn't be beholden to anyone other than the voters themselves who put them in office or who potentially could be voting for them in August. That's the only people they need to be paying attention to.
What's your favorite way for people to get a hold of you? It's to be not to be. See, one of my big gripes is that when I was running for governor, is people were like, "You work for us." I said, "Well, technically, I don't work for anyone right now because I haven't won the seat. I'm trying to fix this mess." And the thing of it is that when you look at a state or a district of how many people are in there, some people want to use politicians just as like a therapist or a board just to bitch at, which I have a real problem with that. They should I think they should come to the table with an idea and how to fix it and a solution that they are part of. When people reach out to you, can you give us examples of some of the most effective, best communications that the people in your district could have with you to support you, to communicate with you, and to be a help?
Yeah, I would say, and it transcends just me. It is
say all people that are in office.
Yeah, all people in office. You have to understand there are a number of office holders in the legislature that have full-time jobs other than the legislature. About half in the Senate, and I don't know how many in the House. Full-time jobs, and this is a full-time job. I had to get rid of my own business when I became a legislator because for me it's been, and my wife can tell you, my long-suffering wife, somewhere between 80, 90 to 100 hours a week when session's going, and in the summer somewhere around 50 to 70 hours a week. So there was no time for a part-time job or any kind of job. Everything I do is here. If they're not putting in the hours and they have all these other opportunities to make money and stuff, the best way to get them is to find out when they're, I'd search their coffee hours and find out, or their in-district office or whatever. They go on their websites, get on their monthly news list. If you don't see anything where they're in district, start calling. Or the House member is, in particular the House, because that's coming up, they're nowhere. They never come to the district. A lot of times they don't want you to know that they're coming into the district. They want just a few people to know, so they could say that they did it. So I would say, no. When is Joe Blow, Sue Smith coming to talk to the people? Then when you get there, you have a couple of concerns. I have had for 9.5 years. Anyone who's been to my coffee hours or my in-district hours can see I've done it the same way all the time. It is a complete free-for-all. Just like I'm talking to you, it's exactly how I talk to the people. I get up and I give an update, and I don't hold. For 9.5 years, I didn't hold back anything. I'm blazing and blazing and blazing away. And then I go around the room and everybody gets to make questions and comments, and I respond to them. I find that's not normally how it's done. You got to really be on your toes, because there's going to be some, in my case, Democrats that are going to come in that I remember these Antifa style Democrats with masks coming in and you're getting all nasty and rotten. You got to be prepared for that. But a lot of them will say, all right, the legislator is going to be in this other little room, and we're going to take you in 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. You're in your little group, and then you can communicate with that legislator, with Joe Blow. That way, and I, by the way, I say this, the same spiel I say at the beginning of every one of my talks. I say that way, if this group has a question for Joe Blow, he answers it the way he thinks that they want to answer. Then they leave, they bring in another group, and they have the same question, but he thinks they want to hear the other answer, and then he answers it the way they want to have it answered, completely contradicting himself, but nobody hears it. So what I say, every single person in the room hears it. I said the other thing that they do is they have cards. So they'll get up there and the staff reads the card. Senator Joe Blow is a dirty SOB. Why did he vote for this? Well, we don't. That's not a good question. Senator Joe Blow, what is your favorite ice cream? Oh, this is a good one for the legislator to answer. So they screen through the questions. If that's the case, you got to corner that legislator. Getting to the staff, so often staff have been trained when people come in and they're complaining on the phone, okay, we're glad to hear your message, goodbye, and they hang up, and they never tell the legislator. Or they see something come in on an email that your constituents would be concerned, communicating to the legislator, and the staff knows they don't want to deal with it, so they delete it. So in those cases, if you come to Lansing, I would try to set a meeting with the legislator. If you're in district, I would try to figure everywhere they're going to be where you can talk to them personally. If you politely, nicely explain the situation and you have something typed up that corroborates that, and hopefully not real lengthy. I've received these monstrous packets of complexity that I start reading on something I don't have the time or the ability to digest this. So they want to be always polite. It's never good to be nasty when you're dealing with anybody, and same with the legislator. But say, listen, this is a real important situation to me and maybe to a lot of others. I've given you the highlights here, my name and numbers on here. I know your staff may have to deal with this, but if you've appealed to the legislator in that way, the majority of them, I would have to say, are good people. It is the system that makes them all of this negative stuff I've been addressing. There's so many people I've seen come into the legislature. They came in with the right reasons. They came in the good, rock solid people. But the system is so corrupting that as Gary Glenn said in that speech, he said about 5%, I can't see my hand there, about 5% of the legislature can withstand the crushing power of the way it is structured. So my goal in talking with you here today is to change that structure, that crushing power that is working in opposition to your viewers, to the voters. It is not at all helping them. And they really need to say, I want to know where my legislator stands. Read these rules. This doesn't take you long. You probably read that in 5 minutes. And you'll know, and take it with you. I'm going to bring a bunch of copies with me tonight to the Macomb County party. I'm going to talk about this issue. And hopefully the people start getting the word out there and telling their legislator, listen, I like you, you talk the right talk, but I want to know, are you going to change what's going on that really is detrimental to me, to my kids, my grandkids? That's what we're talking about.
I absolutely love everything you have to say. I think it's really important for people to remember that, I don't think it's a good idea to use people that are in office to vent your frustrations on the system. That I think people should come forward. It's just like just sitting there and abusing and beating on people. I'm talking, it's a good idea to hold people accountable, tell them what needs to be done. But I've seen a lot of that happen too, and I don't think that's an okay thing to do too. Having a nice discussion and finding ways to work together is a much better plan, in my opinion. And I think that's all possible. I really, really love your survey. I think your survey is really nice and gives people the ability to. I had somebody that tried to trap me into a survey, and the question all of the questions were compound with one way to answer it. And you were going to be caught in an answer that was a bad answer, no matter which way you answered the question. So I went back to the guy. I said, ask me one question at a time and I will answer the question, but I'm not going to answer a survey that doesn't give me the ability to explain my answers fully, because you're asking conflicting questions. And yours is very simple, straightforward, and you give three answers to three ways to go with your answer, but then also supporting it, your rationale for why. And that gets us out of the headlines. At the last turning point, I had somebody come to me and said, we would like everybody to sign that you support term limits. So I'm like, well, let me see what you have. I don't sign things or agree with anything until I see what there's more to go. Well, basically it was Convention of States. And they were using this to say, well, you signed this for Convention of States. I'm like, well, I don't support Convention of States. We don't have enough integrity to go there. That's the only thing standing between us and destruction is that Constitution. And until we get some integrity there, I see it's a really bad idea to touch it. And so there was more to that. There was more to the term limits question than what immediately was apparent. So I really like the way you have this structured. It's wonderful. Would you like to go into your I have two things I wanted to talk to you about, because I have something that first of all needs to be fixed that people don't understand. When you talk about the crime syndicate that's going on up there, you didn't say that, my words, but my words is a crime syndicate. Okay. And how they keep outsiders out, or people who have been clearly identified as non-controllable people that are going to do it for the right reason. That's it, right? I, in fact, fall into that category. I told people when I ran, I said, you're not going to tell me what to say. I will be putting out my own content. So I either make it or hang on my own words. And looked at the obstruction, including people within the state that flat out lied to me and gave me bad information. But you're running the Frogger gamut out there. One of the things that I've been trying to do is I wanted to get my notary to be able to be a notary, because there was a reason for it. And I went ahead and I got the bond and I made out the application and stuff at the county level, swore in. I cannot get past having an account on the state website. They will not let me get an account to file the paperwork. And we have tried it. I've tried it. So when I look at how the problem in the electronic means. They're censoring us through the electronic means, and there's no recourse. You have nowhere to go. So here I am sitting on the bond. I went through the bond. I went through being sworn in, and the state is obstructing me to get the number to be a notary. And there's no recourse to this. I'm kind of curious on how many people out there are running into the same problems with the state as we the people that you run into as a senator who's trying to work through this. And is there any way around their obstruction that they've put up?
One of the things that most people don't know, I try to convey it as much as I can, is to the best of your ability is don't call the bureaucracy on anything. I was telling my brother this. He was saying, "Oh, Jim, I did this and this and this and this with this issue." And I go, "Ron, why didn't you call your legislator?" Well, I didn't. I said, I mentioned this a number of times, to always call the legislator. And I told him, tell him you're my brother, and that kind of the rule, unwritten rule in Lansing is that you don't step on the toes of another legislator on constituent service. And I like that, because I wouldn't like that somebody in my district has an issue and then somebody else is dealing with it, and I don't know any of the details. So we always let, if we get a call in on somebody else's area, we'll let that legislator know. But I tell my staff, tell that person if they didn't handle it or won't handle it to call us back.
So because call your legislature or your legislator and tell them I've got a problem, and they will help you around the problem.
Well, here's like I said, when we refer, so let's say somebody from Macomb County contacts my office about a specific thing. We'll look up who their legislator is, their senator or their House member, and we will call that office and we'll say, this individual has this situation. Sometimes we'll even get them on the phone together and have them hand it off. But some legislators, like I said, they have full-time jobs. They're not paying attention. Their staff's out partying. They're not doing anything. There's legislators out there that do not do the job. And so this person doesn't get help. So I told my staff, follow up with that person. If we're handing it off to somebody else because it's not in our district, I want to know if that person isn't going to help them, then we will help them. We gave them the shot. We gave it to them. But on anything in my district, I want them to either call or email. And I told my staff that there better never be a case I go to one of my events and somebody says, well, I called your office or emailed your office and I didn't get a response. That better never happen, because the most important thing that the people care about, the average person, is the constituent service work. Are you following up on the constituent service work? So that's got to be number one. That's not the case with every legislator. If they absolutely will not help you, then you've got to cast around and find another legislator who will, someone you have a relationship with. But in a case like this, I would tell you to first reach out to your legislator, House member and senator. And if they won't, then contact my office. Say we've talked about this, and we'll do whatever we can do to help you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That is a really gracious and nice answer. I really do appreciate that. Now, how about your story that you were going to go into about what that other gentleman, Glenn? Because this is, I'm really enjoying this interview. You're just a delightful guest.
Well, that was. I'll finish with this story because I've got some other obligations I got to run to. But so it was my first year after I got elected, and it was probably 4 or 5 months in, and I was elected with Gary Glenn. I don't know how many of your viewers may know Gary, but Gary was just a fabulous person. He died of prostate cancer, unfortunately. He got diagnosed, I think, that year in 15, and he was very prayerful. He was very godly person, and I think that's what kept him. Normally, he had, a situation that he wouldn't be around long. He lasted for, what's it been, eight and a half years. And so he had been at 21 a lobbyist for right to work. And so he had been doing this for like 30 years. He had been in all 50 state legislatures, House and Senate, over and over and over again. So he had an immense amount of experience that none of the rest of us had ever had. And so he was working with states on right to work. So we're at this big, at that time, Tea Party event. It was probably 400 people in the room. And he got up there and he started talking about what it's like to be in the legislature. He said, basically, I can't say it as good as he did, but this is what he said. He said, excuse me. He said, when you're elected, most people, like we talked about, they have the best intent. They may even think that they have all of these things they're going to do, that they're going to stand strong against all the temptation and all the rot and all this stuff. And they get in there, and within about 4 months, they find out that votes that what the leadership does, they start having you take incremental votes against what your principles are. So they'll put up these votes. You're like, it's not that bad. It's a little bit of what I told people I wouldn't do, but and then you go home, you find out nobody knows. Oh, nobody's paying attention to this vote. In fact, there's only maybe a dozen in the course of 2 years that they ever pay any attention to. So all these other votes, they don't know. So they're starting with these incremental votes, and they start putting pressure on you. And then when you come back to Lansing, of course, you're the hero, because you're obviously a team player and you're reasonable and all that kind of stuff. So then as time goes on, they start making those votes.
He'll be back. They're trying to end this for us, which is really kind of amusing. Hello. Let's see if Jim comes back here a minute. This is interesting, isn't it? Let's see. Now we'll put up his website for a minute and see if Jim comes back. Yeah, we knew this was going to happen today. I could have guaranteed to you that this was exactly what was going to happen, because he's actually talking truth out here on what's going on, and they certainly don't want that to happen.
Your call has been forwarded.
Yeah, there you are. You're coming back on. They really don't want your message out there, do they? Let's see if Jim comes on here a minute. He's working on it. I still don't have a visual there, Jim. Let's see what happens here. Anyhow, Senator Jim Runestad, really, really enjoying this interview. We're going to keep letting him try to get back on here, because I'd like to have him be able to have the ability to finish what he was saying. Oh. And there he goes. Let's try that again. See if he can come back on. He'll make it. This is why they want this. They want these messages to be silenced. And so this is what censorship looks like, guys. This is what censorship looks like. This is what they do. Yeah, I can keep it up on my end, but it's always the other end that they get us at. But that's okay. We'll keep going. So there you go. Continue on, sir.
Okay, see me. You still see. So they incrementally start getting you to be compromised, and you realize nobody at home realizes these votes, but everybody in Lansing. You're judged by the lobbyists. You're judged by the leadership. You're judged by your colleagues, and they're all starting to become compliant because of the crushing way that the system is designed, as we talk about. And then Gary said, this may disgust you, what I'm saying, but let me ask you a question. He said, probably most of you think that the thing they fear worst is losing election. And of course, everyone's nodding their head, and he goes, it's not true. what they hate worse, what they fear the most, is being ostracized from their colleagues. And he said that when we're tribal beings, we're people who, if you're ostracized from the tribe back in the days of the woolly mammoth, it was death. So being a tribal person and getting along with the tribe was a life or death thing. And they want to get along with their colleagues. And then he said, how many of you have had the experience? It's a Sunday night and you're going to work and it's a toxic environment. You have a horrible boss and he's just creating a toxic environment. Everybody's miserable and can't stand the job. And you almost get a sickness in the pit of your stomach that you have to go to work. How many of you had that experience? And almost all the people have. He said, conversely, how many of you have had the experience it's Sunday night, you got work friends, they'll all be wondering, what did you do over the weekend? And you got this great boss and great situation. You're almost giddy at the idea of going to work in the morning. And almost all the hands went up. And he said, that's what we're talking about. To go in and be ostracized and get the silent treatment, and nobody will talk to you. People avert their eyes, they glare at you. And this could go on for weeks, months, years. Very few can withstand that. And he said, in my experience, going to all 50 states over and over and over again, it's 5%. 5% are all that are going to be able to withstand that. And of course, people are kind of moaning and groaning about that. And he said, but you know what'll surprise you? In this room of around 400 people, that same thing would happen. 5%. 5%. You could hear a pin drop at that point. He said, it's not easy. And he gave a longer, more detailed speech than that, but he was so right. It is not easy. When you get that kind of silent treatment and people look at you like you are a horrible monster and you got to go to that work environment over and over again, it's designed to create compliance coupled with these rules that we just talked about. So again, I'm going to finish up just encouraging your listeners to tell those candidates, tell us what you are going to do in terms of changing these rules.
I like your dog's chiming in. He's saying, I agree.
Who did?
Your dog. I hear your dog barking in the background.
Yeah. You got to get him outside. So anyway, Donna, thank you for the interview. Hopefully,
thank you so much.
I'll see a bunch of your viewers tonight at the county party.
That's awesome. Can you stay around for a prayer for just a minute? I always end with a prayer and then we'll go on our way. Ask God's blessing. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for Jean and for Jim and for everyone out there who has had the courage to step up into this very, very corrupt, horrible system. We ask that you would actually lead people to say the truth under all circumstances, that they would lean on you, not on the approval of other people, but only you, as you lead us down this path to doing the right thing and learning along the way and such. And we thank you for all the lessons that you're giving us. We're thankful for Jean and Jim and coming forward and sharing what they know and being courageous to stand. I ask that your favor would rest mightily upon them and everything that they do. I ask that you would bring people into their lives to help them in the positions that you've put them in, and that you would give them great joy knowing that you're standing with them, that they're not alone, and that you will carry them when they're weak, that you will be there with them, you'll speak with them, and that you will guide them and direct them. And we're so thankful for that so very much. Please bless everybody out there. Let them know that you love them. And we are thankful. You've been a great friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. There you go. This part of the show, boys and girls, where you go to BrandenburgGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded to liars, cheats, thieves, and criminals that have rigged this system so pathetically. And guess what? We're still out there just a pounding, and it's not going away, and it's not going to be comfortable, and we're not going to stop. And we don't give a rat's rear end what they say or think. I'm probably at the head of the class for that 5%. So, which I think is good. So with that said, though, God bless you all. God bless all whom you love, and God bless you. Make it a great day. It's a choice every day to stand for something, to not capitulate, to not go along with the crowd. That's It's weak and it's pathetic. Okay. I'm just going to say it. It's weak, pathetic, and it's not okay. The closer you stand to God, the easier it is for you to stand in all pressure at all times, because it's not in our strength we stand. It's God's strength. God gives us a strength. Whatever he calls us to do, he equips us to carry that out to completion, and he doesn't fail. Human beings fail. God does not fail. So stay close to God. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. We've got our citizen journalist team that's going to be on, as well as Off the Grid with Dr. Kent. It'll be fun. Thank you so much, Jim. You're a wonderful guest, and you're welcome to come on anytime. And I look forward to talking to you in the future. Oh, by the way, are you going to the RNC?
Yes.
So am I. I'm going there too. I'm going to be in
Excellent.
Wisconsin, and so that we're going to have a lot of fun there. I think just trying to right these morons that refuse to step up and do the right thing. 5%'s come in Wisconsin, and we're not backing down. And some of us will be wearing cowboy boots. So there you go. Have a great day today. Thank you.